All right, hello everyone. Welcome to today's session on Opioid Prevention Plus Wellness. This is a follow-up to last week's free webinar by Prevention Plus Wellness, LLC, located here in beautiful St. Augustine, Florida. And this is, again, like I said, a follow-up from last week's Marijuana Prevention Plus Wellness. So there's some overlap because there's some overlap on all of our Prevention Plus Wellness programs, and I'll explain it as we go along today, but we have an hour today to spend together. If you have any questions, comments, anything's not clear, if you want to make your opinion noted, please feel free to do that anytime throughout this session, and we'll take a look at your comments at the end of today's session. So I'm going to show you some slides, and then we'll look at any comments that you might have. Okay, so this is being recorded. And by the way, my name is Dr. Chudley Wirch. I'm the founder and CEO at Prevention Plus Wellness. All right, so now everybody knows who I am and what we're doing. And what we're going to do is I'm going to record the session for you and send you the link. I'm going to send you these slides. So no worries if you missed something, if you want to share this with somebody else, if you want to review it. And because there's a lot of resources on these slides, you may want to look at them so you can click on the link and then further investigate these resources. So, and I'll send everyone a certificate for 1 hour CEU. So you get all of that from us today. No worries, no problems, no need to contact me. You'll get this today. And if you don't see it, check your spam folder because the attachment, sometimes it gets sent to your spam folder. All right, so today's topic, again, opioid prevention plus wellness. Let's take a look at what the objectives are today. There's 3 of them. The first objective for today's session is that we will together explore the contents and the components of the opioid PPW, Prevention Plus Wellness programs. Our most popular version is the adolescent version, but we also have an opioid PPW program for young women of childbearing age and young men, particularly young men, blue-collar young men. These are all high-risk groups identified by the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA. That's why we developed these 3 versions of the opioid PPW program. So we'll look at all 3 of these to a certain extent at least. And secondly, we're going to examine the scripts and the PowerPoint slides. Now we're going to emphasize the adolescent program primarily because that's really the one that most of you seem to be interested in, although I will give you a little peek at how it differs from the young women's opioid PPW program. So we're going to look at the slides. We're going to look at the scripts to implement your program to young people individually, in a group, in person, online. And lastly, number 3, quite a bit of additional resources that I found online for you that I wanted to share with you. These are opioid prevention resources, and that will all be part of what we're going to cover today. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Here are the 3 versions of the Opioid Prevention Plus Wellness program. This is what we offer at Prevention Plus Wellness, LLC. And on the left of your screen, that's the adolescent version. Then in the middle is the young men's version. And then on the right is the young female. So 3 versions. These are actually shots of the covers of the actual physical manual of these programs, because all PPW programs, at least most of them, are manualized. So what is this opioid PPW program? We consider it an evidence-informed program. And by that, we mean that it's based on an evidence-based program that is InShape Prevention Plus Wellness. InShape has been proven to be effective in preventing marijuana and alcohol use, including heavy marijuana and heavy alcohol use. And so what we've got is this is an adaptation of that. But at that point, we were measuring, by the way, opioids, just to let you know. So the opioid PPW program is an adaptation of the InShape program, but it's also a evidence-based practice because it's a screening and brief intervention. So the opioid PPW program, we consider it evidence-informed because it hasn't been individually evaluated for outcomes, but it's got a really strong foundation in that it is an evidence-based practice, screening and brief intervention, and founded on an adaptation of an evidence-based program that's in shape. So you can see to the right here, the opioid PPW program targets opioid use prevention, obviously, physical activity promotion, as well as promotion of healthy eating, sleep, and stress control. It is, like most of our prevention plus wellness programs, a single session screening and brief intervention. So that makes it very fantastic in terms of being able to reach whole public health, reach all youth or young adults in a region, so you could have full public health reach. And that's the beauty of a single session screening and brief intervention. Your opioid PPW comes with slides. You show your slides. You have your program manual with a script in them to provide this lesson to young people, either individually, or that's a very powerful learning experience, or in a group. That's the more efficient strategy. You can do either or both of those. As all PPW programs, the Opioid Prevention Plus Wellness program is based on the behavior image model. It's a wellness-based marketing type of a theory that highlights and emphasizes positive images, particularly future images of young people that are highly motivating for them. Your opioid PPW program under number 8 comes with a digital download of all of your reproducible materials, your slides and your screening surveys, your goal plans, etc. So you can implement this as an instructor to countless youth without having to purchase anything else. And lastly, at least the adolescent version of this program includes slides so you can present this virtually if you need to. So, like we talked about last week, for those of you that were here last week, this is a little bit of a review. These are the components that you'll find in your program. So you'll see in your program manual, step-by-step instructions for implementation, although we do highly recommend taking our self-paced online program implementer training so you can make the most of your program. But your manual does have directions for implementation, includes the brief screening survey. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Scripts for providing your program to youth individually or in a group, colorful slides, a goal plan. So there's this action piece, this goal plan contract. More about that in a moment. Online and paper pre and post testing to evaluate and monitor program outcomes, as well as an instructor survey, which is a process measure, along with a fidelity checklist, which is an assessment of fidelity of implementation. There is an online follow-up goal plan if you need to use that or want to use that. Online resources on our website at preventionpluswellness.com. By the way, these are free resources, regardless of whether you use any of our programs. So check it out, preventionpluswellness.com under resources. We provide a free phone and email support. We can hop on Zoom anytime. If you use any of our programs, you can consider me and us here at Prevention Plus Wellness as part of your implementation team. We want you to have success, so we have success. We want you to enjoy the program, your youth to enjoy it, and to see the success and to improve your program and promote your program. Our goal is probably your goal, which is full reach of your program to all young people in your organization, your community, your region, your state, your nation. And lastly, we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have online training and in-person training as well. A little bit more about that in a minute. So, opioid PPW program, like all PPW programs, follows an evidence-based practices screening and brief intervention process. There's 3 steps to this process. You can see them here. Step number 1, you screen youth for their current health habits. This is designed to increase their awareness of not just their non-medical opioid use, but their wellness behaviors, physical activity, nutrition, sleep, stress control. Secondly, you provide feedback on each of those behaviors and habits, and you use positive image communication. And this is designed to cue future images of youth being more fit, active, healthy, successful, energetic, etc. Highly motivating, highly desirable images. And then, of course, part of that communication is showing how opioids interfere with and harm achieving those wellness behaviors and those desired self images. And this increases motivation for change. And thirdly, that's feedback, by the way, screening feedback. Third step, goal setting. And so you present a goal setting contract to youth. You help them make a commitment to avoid non-opioid, non-medical opioid use and other substance use, and increase protective wellness behaviors. And this initiates behavior change and increases self-regulation skills among young people. So that's the three-step process for opioid PPW, our sport, which is our alcohol PPW program, marijuana PPW, vaping PPW, all of our prevention plus wellness programs use this three-step evidence-based screening and brief intervention process. Now, let's take a look at some of the content, looking at the manuals, looking at the scripts. And so we're going to again focus on the adolescent version of the opioid PPW program. So again, if you have any questions as we go along, if there's anything that's unclear or you like something or don't like something, please feel free to share your views in the Q&A or the chat option in your toolbar. Okay, so this is a snapshot of the screening survey introduction. This is in your manual. So you can see in your manual, you actually have an actual script. This is a script where you read it. So now please take out your copy of the Wellness Behavior Screening Survey. This tool is designed to assess your wellness level, etc. So you're reading that script to youth. You hand out, you make a copy, I should say, of the screening survey from your digital download materials. If you have 10 kids, you make 10 copies. You have 20 kids, you make 20 copies. And then you can see in parentheses under number 4 and 5, now you're going to wait until everyone completes that screening survey. It takes a couple minutes because it's only a few items. And then you're going to show the next slide. So the parentheses show directions, and the non-bracketed materials, your actual script. And this is what's found in your physical manual of any PPW program, including the Opioid Prevention Plus Wellness program. So that's part of your script. That's the introduction to the screening survey. Remember, 3 steps to implementing your PPW program: screening, feedback, goal setting. Screening survey items. What's on the screening survey items in the Opioid Prevention Plus Wellness program for adolescents? You can see the list here on the right. You're assessing youth and having youth assess themselves so that they can increase awareness about their regular moderate physical activity, their regular vigorous exercise or physical activity, regular healthy nutrition, their sleep, their use of daily stress control, and past 30-day non-medical opioid use. So those are the items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's like 6 items on the screening survey. It really takes just a minute or two to have youth complete that. That's for the youth benefits. It's not for you. You're not going to collect it as a teacher. That's just to increase their awareness of their health behaviors, including this wide spectrum of not just opioid use, but lifestyle behaviors. Now, the screening survey and the goal plan. You've got a couple of different options. You've got hard copies, as I mentioned. You make copies from your digital download. You hand out your screening survey. You can hand out your goal plan, which we'll talk about in a minute. But we also have, at least in the opioid adolescent version, for sure, I know we have some slides with a link to the screening survey and to the goal plan if you present your lesson virtually. So if you have to, because of the pandemic, or maybe you want to reach some kids that are virtual, you can do that without a problem. And then there's also, as I had mentioned earlier, a link to an online version of the goal plan, which a lot of our organizational providers will send to youth or give to parents or give to coaches or teachers. And this will allow youth to continue to set goals. You send them the link and they can continue that process of setting goals on a weekly basis. And that really will increase their self-control skills over time. All right, so we're continuing along now on the looking at the manual. So the manual is the opioid PPW adolescent version. The first part of the manual you saw was screening, implementing the screening survey. This is the second part, second step of your program, which is providing feedback. And you're going to start providing feedback with the first item on that screening survey, which was assessment of moderate physical activity. So here you can see the actual script. You can see the directions are in parentheses, show your slide, ask participants to answer to themselves, and then the actual script is, on most days of the week, do you engage in moderate physical activity for at least 30 minutes, such as fast walking, slow bicycling, skating, dancing, or swimming? There's even a slide there, so it cues you, it cues the kids or youth, so they could see a restatement of that first screening survey item right there, which is asking them about their moderate physical activity. Okay. And now what you're going to do is you're going to immediately after that present the benefits. What are the positive outcomes from engaging in this wellness behavior, this moderate physical activity? And there's your content to the right. That's in your script, and you will read this while you show a slide highlighting the benefits for the for the visual learner. So here's the script, here's the content. For those of you that may have been introduced to some of our other programs like the marijuana PPW program or vaping or sport, etc., you can see that the opioid PPW program, which is based on InShape, has a little bit more content. So I think that's a good thing, a little bit more instructional. And you can see there, keeping physically active, key to achieving fitness and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. I'm under number 1 right now. Adolescents who engage in regular physical activity tend to feel energetic, sleep better, and look and feel more physically fit. So some of these outcomes they're all positive outcomes, but some of them are image related, which are highly, highly motivational and cue unconscious images of youth in their minds. So physically fit and energetic are a couple of examples. Then you go on to number 2, regular physical activity can enhance your mental well-being, your self-esteem, your confidence, etc. So you can see all that content you're presenting. Still only 3 items, so it's still relatively quick, that feedback highlighting the benefits of moderate physical activity. And while you present this is your slide you're going to show. So youth can follow along. They could see 30 minutes of moderate physical activity. That's the goal. Every day of the week, ideally. Active adolescents, what do they look like? They feel more energetic, sleep better, look more fit. Regular physical activities related to enhanced mental well-being, self-esteem concept, eases anxiety and mild depression, reduces stress level, and lets you work harder and smarter. So really, really good content highlighting the benefits of moderate physical activity. Then the second part of that feedback message is where you're going to link how, and again, it's in the script, it's in the slide, it's all laid out beautifully, very simple to implement, how non-medical opioid use harms moderate physical activity. So you can see the 2 items to the right, and that's the script. That's what you're going to read to them. At the same time, you'll show the slide. The slide highlights the main content. You get some really nice images, and our images there of the kids, of the young people, trying to show a lot of diversity, both genders, ethnicities, activities, always healthy, happy young people, and for the most part. So again, positive images, more likely to be received by youth and have more impact on youth behavior, motivating the behavior. So you can see here this slide and the script that goes with it right there, highlighting how opioid use is going to harm your ability to engage in moderate physical activity and achieve those benefits, including those images of being physically fit and energetic. How? Look at the items. Number one, marijuana is good, or excuse me, opioids is going to cause, I'm still on last week's presentation. Opioids is going to cause drowsiness, mental fog. I've got a little of that today. Nausea and constipation. Decreasing your energy level, causing feelings of discomfort, fatigue, poor coordination, harming your motivation and drive to exercise, and causing sleepiness, dizziness, hurting your physical performance. So really, really good content. So you can see the process here. We're highlighting the benefits of a particular wellness behavior, starting with moderate physical activity and highlighting how much they should get. And goals, and then highlighting how opioid use harms that behavior and achieving those benefits and outcomes. Okay, now you're going to continue that feedback with, and in the order of which it is seen on the screening survey. You're going to provide feedback next on regular vigorous exercise, and feedback on regular healthy nutrition, on sleep, on stress, and then you're going to also provide feedback on past 30-day non-medical opioid use. So you can provide feedback on all those protective wellness behaviors, different types of physical activity, nutrition, sleep, stress control, and you're going to provide feedback on opioid use. Now, in terms of the opioid content, these are the topics. This is what you'll be mentioning and discussing in your feedback to youth. Avoiding misusing opioids, very important message. Defining what prescription opioid misuse is. Opioid misuse can cause life problems. Again, you cannot emphasize enough the importance of highlighting harmfulness of a substance. Signs of opioid overdose, treating opioid disorders, opioid treatment and prevention work, and recommendations for increasing wellness. Now, most of these topics come right out of the recommendations from SAMHSA, Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. So we wanted to make sure that this curricula, this lesson, the screening and brief intervention, does address the things that SAMHSA said are very important in prevention. So just to give you two examples, and these are from the slides, not the script. Here's a slide on misusing prescription opioids. What does it mean? Well, it means taking too much of a drug. If you're using somebody else's medicine, if you're taking it for longer than a few days, et cetera. So just defining what prescription opioid misuse means. And then here's another example of some of that opioid feedback that you'll be presenting, which is if someone has signs of an overdose, what you need to do first and foremost, you call 911. And what does it look like for an overdose? And there's 6 items there that are indicative of opioid overdose. So all of that is in that feedback you present to youth on opioid use. Then you'll get to these recommendations for increasing wellness. So this is the broad integrative opioid and all PPW programs. So what you're going to highlight here is all of the behaviors you're going to highlight as being recommendations for wellness, for well-being. Starting with number 1, you're going to recommend that youth participate in at least 30 minutes of moderate physical activity most days a week. For example, fast walking, slow biking, skating. But you're also going to highlight the importance of vigorous exercise, at least 20 minutes on most days. That means the type of exercise that makes you sweat and breathe hard, like basketball, running, swimming laps. Thirdly, you're going to highlight the importance of managing daily stress by practicing relaxation techniques. These could be walking in nature, practicing muscle relaxation, meditation, yoga, prayer, et cetera, lots of examples there. So this is all a part of the recommendations for wellness. There's 3 items there. Number 4, eating largely nutrient-dense foods. There's a definition of that in the screening survey. And there it is there. Lean meat, whole grains, plenty of fruits and vegetables. Number 5, getting at least 8 hours of sleep every night. And lastly, of course, so important, avoiding opioid use, but then also other substance use that can interfere with your wellness behaviors and benefits and outcomes, including especially heavy alcohol use, tobacco use, other illegal drugs. So these are the recommendations. There's a full 6 of them, and that's what you're going to be presenting. And that will conclude your feedback on your opioid PPW program. Screening is done, feedback, and now, by the way, in the slides, you'll see these discussion questions. That's an opportunity to make sure that youth continue to reflect and make this content you're presenting to them relevant to them, and they reflect on their own behavior. So what types of healthy foods would you like to eat or eat more of is one of the questions in the feedback that you present on nutrition. Okay. Also gets some interaction if you present your lesson in a group format. All right, so the third part of your intervention, as well as all PPW programs, is the goal setting contract piece. That's the action piece. That's where we're going to help youth initiate behavior change. Generally speaking, the goal plan contracts has these 6 items to them. We already covered number 1, recommendations for wellness, all the behaviors that promote wellness, as well as avoiding substance use, in this case, particularly opioid use. Pledging to avoid substances, including opioids and other substances. There may be some background dogs barking. Try to ignore that. Babysitting some dogs today. 3, write a measurable, achievable wellness goal. So you're going to help young people set at least one goal to improve and increase their protective wellness behaviors. You're going to sign it and they're going to sign it. You're going to co-sign it to make it a contract that increases motivation for change. There's a daily 7-day monitoring log to help youth check their behaviors every day, 7 days. It's not enough to set goals. You want youth to monitor them and then see how well they've achieved, and then reset goals at the end of the 7 days. So the process here is you're just helping them initiate this 7-day goal setting well, and then encourage them beyond that to continue to set goals every week for the next several weeks. The more weeks they set goals, the more likely they'll achieve some real significant improvements in their lifestyle. Now, what we've looked at thus far is primarily the feedback that you would present to youth in a group setting. The opioid PPW program also has a script to present your lesson to youth individually. This is a very powerful strategy. Youth love this. It's almost like an individual, tailored consulting with the youth. Very positive, very powerful. But the difference with the individual and the group script is this. The individual script is going to be tailored to how youth answers each of the screening survey questions. So let's say they said yes, that they eat primarily nutrient-dense foods most days a week. Then you'll read the yes response, which is highlighted in green, good, go, healthy nutrition. If they said no, that they don't eat primarily healthy foods, then you'll read the no response. What's the difference between a yes and a no response? Well, let's take a look. The yes response says, I notice that your daily diet includes plenty of nutrient-dense foods, making you a nutrient-conscious adolescent. You could say their name, Susan. You already know that eating a healthy diet and avoiding high-fat and high-sugar foods can help you keep fit and a healthy body. Okay, that's the feedback if it's a positive, if they answered positively to the screening survey. If they said no, they don't get healthy foods, you can see the response there. It says, I notice that your daily diet may not always include lots of nutrient-dense foods, making you less likely that you're a nutrient-conscious person. So again, Rebecca, eating a healthy diet and avoiding high-fat and high-sugar foods can help you keep a fit and a healthy body. So it's just tailored, it's customized, it recognizes verbally where youth are at. And then the rest of the content is the same. It's the same slide. So you can actually present your opioid PPW program to one youth at a time, maybe once or twice in the morning. Afternoon, you can present it to a group of youth, back to individual youth. So you can toggle back and forth using your individual script, your group script. The slides are the same. It's just the script is slightly different, okay? And that highlights the need to practice your script. And we walk you through all of this in our online training. And again, really important, we think, for you to take that self-paced online training course to help you best use your opioid or any PPW program. Now, let me just show you what that was, the adolescent opioid PPW program. Let me just give you a couple of slides of the young women's opioid PPW program. So you can see right off the bat, the cover slide looks different. However, the slides are the content largely the same. You're going to highlight, for example, the benefits of moderate physical activity and how a non-medical opioid use interferes. But then there's also some specific content about risks for women in particular with regard to babies and withdrawal, heroin use, women more likely to be prescribed opioids in higher doses, et cetera. Really good content that's tailored specifically to women of childbearing age. Okay, so that's the difference. There are critical differences between the opioid adolescent version versus the young men versus the young women version. I just wanted to show you that. By the way, we also have an opioid PPW parent program. So if you, for example, are working with parents in your region and you want to provide parents, inform parents to use the same positive image communication about opioids and healthy behaviors and have them help their youth set goals at home, this is a great program for you. So if you have a parent-based program, you can train parents in a single session on the opioid PPW program. So here are the goals, the objectives, if you will, of this program. And then you as the implementer are trained, and then you get the slides to present this, this lesson to parents in a single session if you want. So you want parents to know why it's important for them to communicate with their youth or young adults, not just about avoiding opioid use, but also increasing their healthy wellness behaviors like physical activity, sleep, et cetera. Number two, explore the three-step evidence-based screening and brief intervention process, PPW process, which I just explained to you, screening, feedback, goal setting. And then lastly, give a parent some practice at presenting these positive messages to their youth and how to help their youth set goals to improve their lifestyle. So this is an option for you. If you work with parents, there's an Opioid Prevention Plus Wellness parent program. We have parallel programs for parents in our other programs. We have a sport PPW parent program that addresses largely alcohol. We have a marijuana parent program, vaping parent program, so forth. We have built-in evaluation materials. If you were with us last week, you know this, and the evaluation materials are largely three of them. One's the pre and post surveys. That's to measure outcomes of your program. We have an instructor survey. That's to measure quality of your program implementation. And then we have a fidelity checklist. So your pre-test and your post-test have these components to them. There's actually two different types, two different versions of the pre and post test. The one version you use immediately before and after the lesson, and this has measures of predictors, risk and protective factors, if you will. So you'll be able to tell if before the lesson, opioid PPW lesson, and after the lesson, whether you were able to improve behavioral intentions to engage in the healthy behaviors and to avoid opioid and other substance use, increase perceived harmfulness of opioids and other substances, and reduce perceived norms of the number of their peers that use opioids and other substances. So that's the immediate pre-post survey. Comes in a paper version as well as an online version. We can send you a link or customized QR code. You just show it to youth. They complete it, launch your lesson. When they're done, you show them the post-test link or QR code, they complete it, you've got your data without even having to collect any paper surveys or hand enter any data. So it's a really beautiful thing. Now, that's the immediate pre-post survey and measures only risk and protective factors. We also have a second survey. It's the health behavior survey, which measures, in addition to risk and protective factors, actual 30-day health behaviors, physical activity, sleep, breakfast, nutrition, but also opioid use and other substance use. The difference with the health behavior survey is you have to implement the post-test 30 days or longer after the lesson, because it includes 30-day health behavior measures. Okay, some of you may be able to do that and would benefit from the health behavior survey because you have more data and you have actual measures of health behaviors. Some of you can't, so you can use the immediate pre-post survey. All right, let me know if that is clear to you. You have any problems with that, understanding that. The instructor survey, you complete the instructor survey after every lesson you present, and this just assesses your quality of presentation, whether you're presented your lesson day in and day out, whenever you present it with the same level of quality. So for example, under number 4, one of the measures is your level of enthusiasm and passion. Because opioid PPW and all PPW programs are motivational, you want to present your lesson with a lot of enthusiasm and passion to get your participants to get excited about and motivated to engage in the protective wellness behaviors, to avoid opioid or other substance use and to set goals to improve how they look and feel and perform at school and sports and relationships and life in general. Okay, so it's a self-assessment instructor survey. And we have training. Our latest version of our training, I think, is fantastic. It's self-paced. You hop on when you need to, complete it when you can. If you need to step away for a little bit because something comes up, you can go back to it and complete it. Very interactive, and I think a great way to get your training. It's the self-paced online training, and we have it for the opioid PPW programs as well as all of our programs. But we also have train the trainer. We can do that online or in person, and we have free webinars. Obviously, you're aware of the webinar because you're here with us. Make sure you drop in your email on our website, preventionpluswellness.com, so that you can get information and announcements on all of our free webinars. Here's all of our programs. We got the evidence-based sport, which is alcohol drug program, high school, middle school, elementary school. Vaping and marijuana are adaptations of sport. Opioid is an adaptation of InShape, which is for young adults. We have a Sport 2, which is our 6-lesson program. It's our only multi-session program. That's Sport 2 under item 6. We have a racial justice program because racial injustice is a risk factor for substance use. We have our parent programs, which I've mentioned to you. We have In God's Image, which is a free spiritual program. You just go onto our website, put in your name and email, and you'll get that as a download for free. That's In God's Image. Now, let's take a look at some of the resources that I've found recently online for you that you may be able to use if you're engaged in and concerned about opioid use among your youth and your young adults, and you want to help prevent it. Here's a good, here's an option. It's called the Prevention Programs and Tools. Let me just move my image here. So toolkits, evidence-based approaches, media campaign materials, all kinds of stuff from healthandhumanservices.gov/opioids. There's the link on the right, and I'll send you this so that you can just click on it. Remember, I'm going to send you these slides so you can just click on that link and go learn more about that. Here's Opioid Response Network, or ORN, and it provides training and technical assistance, or TA, regarding in local regions using the experts from across the country. I think this is really good, and the focus is on not just prevention, but treatment and recovery. And so all you need to do is go on this website and sign up and look at the resources. You can even sign up for technical assistance So they have a technical assistance team, and supposedly they have people that will help you in prevention and treatment and recovery in all these areas. And that's the Opioid Response Network, or ORN. The ORN also posted this on middle schools and COVID-19 guidance for addressing resilience and substance use. So this is a guide for those of you that are in schools and those of you that are concerned about school and interested in schools. It's a guide that has actionable suggestions to protect and strengthen youth resilience. And there's 2 points there: increasing protective factors, and I highlighted some in particular: involvement in activities. You want your youth to be involved in positive activities, and coping strategies and healthy lifestyle choices, including sleep, nutrition, physical activity. And of course, the Opioid Prevention Plus Wellness program provides this feedback, this messaging, and goal setting. So really the Opioid PPW program really would help address that number one item, which is increasing protective factors of young people. And then the second item is reducing risk factors. And there's a link to that, that guideline, that guide, I should say. Okay. All right. And Operation Prevention. This is from the Drug Enforcement Administration in collaboration with Discovery Education. They have these great no-cost online tools for parents, for schools, for workplace, tons of resources. Check it out. Operation Prevention. Combating opioid crisis and other substance misuse, schools, students and families. This is from the U.S. Department of Education and other federal agencies, and they're focusing on addressing opioid use. So this is Department of Education content here, and there's a link to this two-pronged process that the Department of Education is focusing on: educating students, families, and educators, and then also supporting state and local education agencies to prevent opioid use. And in fact, they even highlight, the Department of Education even highlights, what is the role of schools? And there's actually, 6 items here. I highlighted a couple under number 2, educating students and each other and families about the dangers of drug use and about how to prevent opioid misuse. And certainly we highlight that in the opioid PPW program, the dangers and the harmfulness. Number 5, boost protective factors that increase student engagement, activities, including those related to protective wellness behaviors. So that's addressed in your opioid PPW program. So that's suggestions from the U.S. Department of Education. This resources is Rural Response to Opioid Crisis Organizations from the Rural Health Information Hub. And so for those of you that are, working with rural areas, this could be good information for you to take a look at, tools and resources. Opioid overdose prevention from CDC, good content from Centers for Disease Control and Prevention about how to avoid opioid misuse in our communities. And also number 3 there I thought was interesting, that CDC supports and funds 9 injury control research centers, or ICRCs, that are addressing opioid overdose. They address injury, obviously, in general and in specific areas, but also now they address injury associated with opioid use. So good research coming out of the ICRCs, that's Injury Control Research Centers, supported by CDC. Opioid overdose prevention saves lives from CDC. I think that makes sense, and there's some content there in the link. Opioid epidemic toolkit 2021 prevention from the National Association of County and City Health Officials. I think this is a very good resource, and there's a long link there to this information from this organization. The opioid epidemic, resources for program providers from evidence-based prevention and intervention supported by EPIS, which is out of Penn State University. And I think that's good content as well for those of you interested in becoming educated and educating your others in your community about opioid avoidance. Awareness, education, collaboration, promising school-based opioid prevention approaches from SAMHSA, that's the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. And there's a link to that information from SAMHSA. And then SAMHSA went on to say that here's how to educate students about the risk about prescription drug misuse. And there's 4 items or so there, including number 1, provide students with accurate information and the necessary skills around opioids, which certainly the opioid PPW program can help with. Prevent med abuse from CADCA. That's the Community Anti-Drug Coalition of America. There's some materials there from CADCA on Prevent Med Abuse Toolkit. And then there's this. This is a research study just published last year on current prescription opioid misuse and suicide risk behaviors among high school adolescents in the United States. This was published in Pediatrics, and the results showed that both current POM, which is prescription opioid misuse, and past prescription opioid misuse were significantly associated with all suicide risk behaviors compared to those who weren't using or had used prescription opioids. So you can see that there's this linkage between opioid misuse and increased risk for suicide ideation and actual suicide attempts. And the conclusions under number 4, prevention approaches that address the intersections between suicide and prescription opioid misuse hold promise for preventing substance use among youth. And so we give some suggestions here with regard to that intersection. And we think that without a doubt, you can see this under number 1, there's this increasingly growing body of research which supports healthy lifestyle behaviors, particularly sleep, nutrition, especially breakfast, and regular physical activity and sports as associated with less mental health problems, including opioid use. So really promoting overall wellness behavior is very important. And the sport and in-shape prevention plus wellness programs are evidence-based programs, and our opioid and marijuana and vaping and other PPW programs are evidence-based and evidence-informed programs which continue that process and not just are aimed at preventing opioid use, for example, but promote these protective wellness behaviors that are essential, not just to physical health, but as we've seen in this study in pediatrics, to mental health outcomes, including suicide. So really good, I think, information highlighting the importance of prevention plus wellness programs. If you want to learn more about our programs, there's a link to the left, the link on the right, you can request a sample of any of our programs. preventionpluswellness.com. If you want to email us, it's info@preventionpluswellness.com. And you can call us here in St. Augustine, Florida, 904-472-5022. Remember, everybody's going to get a copy of these slides, a link to this recorded session, and a certificate for 1 hour CEU. So no need to ask me that. I'll be sending it to you. If you don't get it, check your spam folder because of the attachments. It's likely been sent there. So thank you so much for everything you do for youth and young adults and families in your communities. And God bless you all for that. Let's see if there's any questions. I was not able to assess the pre and post tests from last webinar. I was not able to access them. Okay, so Tony, all you have to do is, and this is for anybody interested in taking a look at our pre-post surveys and our other instruments, the Instructor Survey, the Fidelity Checklist. It's all on our website. Go to preventionpluswellness.com, go to resources, and go to evaluation. Preventionpluswellness.com, resources, and evaluation. It's that 3 steps. Preventionpluswellness.com, find the resources page and go to the evaluation page and resources. Scroll to the bottom and you'll see all the instruments. So you'll get a real good sense of what's measured in all of our instruments: our immediate pre-post survey, our health behavior pre-post survey, instructor survey, fidelity checklist. And if you, let's say you can't find it, just email me, Tony, and I'll be happy to send you whatever you need. Let's see if there's some comments here on the chat space. Some people said thank you. Some people just said thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I've already checked out some of the resources. This PSA is pretty impactful. That's good, Lisa says. Thank you so that, Lisa Olson, appreciate that. Thank you so much, Mr. Chudley. My pleasure, you guys. You're awesome. Thank you, great presentation, and thank you. You do the hard work. I just provide you some ideas. I'm the idea guy. It's easy for me to provide ideas. It's you guys that do the real work, taking these ideas, taking these evidence-based and evidence-informed programs, implementing them to youth and to parents, and making a difference in the lives of individuals. So keep up the good work. Thank you for all you do. Let me see one more. There's maybe just a couple more questions here. Just thank you. So if you have any questions afterward, or after you see my email, if you have a question, just send me a question back. I'm happy to help anytime. Check out what we offer, preventionpluswellness.com, and keep up the good work, everyone. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Stay safe out there and keep it up. Bye. See you later. Next week, another webinar. By the way, next week, the webinar is on promoting mental health through wellness lifestyles. Thank you. Bye, everyone.